Hi everyone. Really excited today to talk a lot about insurance, and we have a very packed agenda and a lot of good discussion with you. We are talking about results from two of our recent research reports covering the leading 50 technology providers in both the P&C technology world, P&C insurance industry world, and the life and annuities. So this is going to be a fun discussion. And I thought before we get into the discussion and introduce each one of us, would love to know where all of you are joining us from. So if you can take a minute and just tell us, where are you joining us from? How's the weather there? What are you excited about? And let's get the conversation started so that we can hear you from where you are. And I can start first because I'm on the stream, live out here, and I can talk about this. I'm enjoying a lovely fall weather. I'm in Secaucus, New Jersey, and I was like, I can't stop staring out of the window because it's such beautiful colors. It's great yellow and oranges right now out here, so really enjoying the weather. Um, but let's hear from the panelists, right? Where are you guys joining from?
Well, Ronak, I'm joining from Gurgaon, and sadly, I cannot say the same about the weather as you.
Yeah,
Oh,
Chinmay.
joining
Yeah,
from Bangalore, much better than from where Arindam is. So happy to be here. Lovely weather.
good.
And same as Orindam, I'm calling from Gurgaon, just stuck in these four walls, so cannot see the good weather outside. But yeah.
But I'm hoping, Vanchika, you'll enjoy the company out here on LinkedIn Live and the conversation that we're going to have today out here. It's good to have everyone out here, want to hear where you're joining us from. But really wanted to welcome everyone. We appreciate you taking our time and kind of joining this dialogue, having this conversation with us when we talk about the leading technology providers and their trends and their innovation that they're driving in the insurance world. A very quick introduction to myself and the team out here. I am going to be a moderator and host for the next 55 odd minutes, and I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna ask a lot of questions to Arindam, Vanchika, and Chinmay. So that puts me in an easy spot. I don't have to do a lot of talking, but just ask very intelligent questions and get the conversation flowing. But again, I'm Ronak. I'm an analyst with Everest Group. I lead our financial services research across banking, capital markets, and insurance. I have three of our superstar analysts with me from our insurance team. Orindam, who's a practice director, leads our insurance research, focuses heavily a lot on the P&C space, and is doing some amazing work when it comes to specialty insurance, claims transformation, and he's one analyst you should definitely follow if you want to know what's happening in the future of claims and also the role of data and AI and underwriting. He's doing some amazing work. I have Vanchika with me, who's a senior analyst. If you want to get a deep, keen insight on technology buying trends and its implications on the services industry, she's your analyst to follow. One thing about her, which is always gets us excited about, is her ability to connect dots and kind of bring that second order insights about the market and the psychological behavior of what's happening in the industry. So we want to hear a little bit of that. And then we have our rock solid analyst, Chinmay, who's a senior analyst again with Everest Group. If you need anything, what's happening from the group life and benefits market to what's happening in annuities to retirements and pensions, he is the person to go to. So we have such a beautiful mix of all three of you, right? I don't think we realize this is going to happen, but it's great to kind of see this mix setting up out here. And I see some comments also coming in. Varun, thank you for joining from Chennai. And he's saying it's surprisingly cooler. Okay, great. Thank you. And again, yes, we are all looking forward to the top 50 results. We want to talk about it. And before we get to the top, 50, the leading 50 results, but I wanna spend some time talking through the two reports because what caught my attention right before I start asking questions is the theme of the two reports. So life and annuities, right? Chinmay, you guys came up with this awesome theme, right? Which is the David and Goliath theme, which is there have been technology providers which have been there for decades, right? 40, 50 years, and even longer than that. And there are leading life insurance companies who are still using those package software and solutions which they've bought and customized to a degree, right? And these are monolith heavyweights in the industry. But at the same time, you're talking about this challengers coming in the market, talking about we are cloud native, API enabled, using the best of data and AI technology, modern engineering techniques to get you modernized much quicker. So this David and Goliath story playing in the life and annuities insurance market for me was very exciting, and I'm sure when folks read the report, they are also gonna be really excited about how this is happening. And Paresh, thank you for the comment. Really good to have you with us as well. And then the other report, right, Vanchika, when you and team kind of created this theme, and I'm a big fan. Again, those who know me, right, I'm a big comic book fan, and I'm a big comic book movie fan. And when I heard the theme around multiverse, I was like, oh my god, this is exciting, right? And it's so exciting because I was at ITC Vegas last week, and the entire theme out there was space and the universe, right? So I was like, oh my god, it's kind of resonating with what I'm seeing on the floor, which is you have all of these individual product lines as I look at each of them, from home to auto to specialty lines, marine and commercial, all those. Each has a center of universe, a core insurance systems or a set of those, but there is a massive ecosystem of these planets, asteroids, moons, which is surrounding this core and kind of creating an immense value and acceleration out there. And then I realized there is so much of these matured forces that are tying this universes together. And you talked about multiverses, so not just one universe. You are talking about so many different lines of businesses and the core systems that get connected. So I'm really excited to kind of hear, Vanchika, from you. What are the key takeaways from the PNC insurance research that you did on the leading 50 technology providers? Uh, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ronak, first of all, for making the story look so exciting, though it is. But thanks again. And I'll quickly add on to this initial point, right? Our story and the theme of PNC insurance technology multiverse, right? At the PNC insurance technology ecosystem resembles completely a multiverse, right? And if we talk about the next normal of core technology modernization, it kind of requires those insurers to kind of make that leap from traditional to modern IT that is on the frontier of the technology and operations efficiency. And I'm going to quickly cover this context, and I'm going to move to key takeaways then, right? So this transformation, right, that's needed to reach the efficient frontier, it kind of requires reimagining the complete role that technology function plays with respect to different business lines, reinventing the manner in which the technology kind of delivers those products and services to the customers and internal users, and at the same time future-proofing the quality of the technology systems that are built on top of core. And these code augmentation technology providers, they are kind of supporting those insurers by ticking all these checklists and providing plug and play solutions that are augmenting that core functionality of the platforms, and focusing on those targeted and niche use cases, which is getting really necessary to become competitive in the market, right? So the point here is, how can both the core platforms and the core augmentation providers work in collaboration to drive that innovation agenda for the insurers? And I'm going to specifically talk about those specific use cases and areas that have been gaining most of the traction from the industry recently, when we kind of reveal our leading technology providers in the subsequent slides. And that's going to be really interesting. Okay, coming back to your questions on key takeaways, right? So as per my read of the industry dynamics, I can give two trends or maybe priorities that PNC insurers have already started working on, or maybe are planning to prioritize. So the first one is around augmentation of the distribution channels and supercharging that experience differentiation, right? So the past few years, insurers have kind of focused their energies on modernizing their underwriting and claims function, while making piecemeal investments into distribution channels, which was again very limited to front-end channel digitization. So while insurers are now prioritizing the realization of the maximum value out of their existing investments, there is this increasing momentum that we are seeing of fresh investments into augmenting their distribution function specifically. So effectively, if we see enhanced control over distribution channel for insurers, integration for intermediaries, and seamless buying experience for customers. I think these aspects are going to dictate the future of insurance distribution. So one point here. And around enabling that holistic customer engagement across the customer life cycle, automating the lead generation part, most importantly, enhancing that accessibility to tailored protection and pricing, which are specific to, unique customer contexts and needs, are kind of going to be really crucial, particularly in the commercial and specialty line of insurance. And what I feel is MGAs are emerging as the key winner here by solving the whole distribution puzzle. So the question here is, how do these technology providers kind of enable insurers to work with MGAs better? How do they ensure that the data and the APIs are exchanged seamlessly with their systems? I think that is definitely a thing that is seeing most traction here. You'll be able to see more about this in the full report. So do check that out. Some interesting points there. And the second key takeaway is around data estate modernization. So as we see these conversations, permeating in the P&C insurance industry around how do I make my actuarial IT processes a little bit more modern? How do I ensure that these actuaries are kind of doing better loss and reserving accounting? How do they improve their risk modeling processes? How can they better use data science products that are available? What are some of the newer technologies that we can ask our actuaries and business to kind of work to be able to do these product development process in an efficient manner? So as these conversations are kind of shaping up in the market, one piece that that becomes extremely important and interesting is reimagining that base data function to kind of empower all these processes, right? So point here is, how do these technology providers help insurers centralize that base data infrastructure and build those sophisticated data management systems which are eventually capable of integrating diverse data streams from internal sources to external data such as geospatial intelligence, your sensor based insights, your IoT vehicle data, basically enabling that real time decisioning, data processing, offering that potential for accurate risk modeling. So I think these were my two key takeaways. But one key outcome that I see common across any priority, any opportunity out there in the P&C insurance market is embracing that persona-driven experience. That hyper-personalization is going to be really important. So customer demanding retail-like experiences, they are kind of putting pressures on carriers to evolve. Otherwise, just perish. That's all from my end. So these were the key takeaways, Ronak. Hope this aligns to what you are also seeing in the market.
Yeah, no, quite a lot, right? So I know we were talking about theme of year, right? Again, we talked about, right, for 2025, the theme of the year we want to do is, I know I don't have to say it out loud right now before we finalize, but again, distribution is where we are netting out, right? So I completely get that, right? So experience and driving the growth becomes very critical, and the second piece around data enablement and all of that aligned to the experience at the end of it is, I think, how I kind of look at all of this across processes, right? So it's the actual experience to the underwriter experience to the agent and broker experience, I think, across the board, and then obviously the policyholder experience. How do you kind of drive that and make it more seamless is where this all nets out. So beautiful. I think this is a very well told story. And I'm actually looking forward to kind of dig further into the story as we kind of go along. But I do want to give life and annuities and all our work around retirements, pensions, that Chinmay and team have done, right? So Chinmay, over to you, right? What have been the key takeaways on the life and annuity side? Let's do the compare and contrast here.
Yeah, thank you, Ronak. So of course, the distribution lens continues to be relevant here as well. But I'm going to take a step back for a minute. When we started thinking about the reports, the insurance leading 50 reports, my initial feeling personally was that we'll have a lot of competition for the top 50 in the P&C side. Because as Vanshika pointed out, you have distribution guys, you have a lot of risk data providers and so on. And then on the L&A side, I felt it'd be relatively a predictable set of names. But as we progressed through the report, interestingly, we found that with far too many players which are already influencing the L&A landscape from their own different vantage points. And so getting to 50 in itself was eventually a dreadful task of saying no to many promising companies. A takeaway would be there was this common idea that L&A carriers are not as much willing to experiment as the P&C insurers are. And over the last 1 or 2 years, we've seen changes to that point of view itself. The study kind of reinforces that. We see life insurers, admittedly largely like tier 1 and tier 2, but we're seeing them engaging with underwriting data providers. They're willing to invest in customer engagement. They're willing to invest in distribution and agency management. They understand that MarTech stack it's much more than just a robust CRM now. And what that allows for is a change for roles for everyone in the ecosystem. Sure, there's a place for everyone to come in, and that opens up the game for everyone to define their own space in the ecosystem. Even service providers, they need to orchestrate things well, with that caveat that potential SaaS sprawl may develop as the insurers open up their tech ecosystems for all this. So a lot of exciting things, but I'll stop here for now.
Yeah. No, so again, modernization is the core theme that I'm hearing from you, and modernization in smaller configurable units and kind of expanding the landscape is where we are headed out here from a life and annuities perspective. And very similar themes you are kind of looking at the two areas, which is cool to kind of look at. But Arundam, I want to come to you, right? So we speak about these two leading 50 reports that we have. We will come to the leading 50. We want to talk about them. But just before we kind of tease that enough, right? What are the other things that we are talking about in the research, right? And specifically, what are there a few things that stand out for you?
Thanks, Ranak. So, well, I personally believe that this better together approach that Vanchika touched upon, right, that holds true in the context of core and core augmentation players. That also applies for the SI and the overall tech provider partnerships as well, right? So let me explain this with an interesting analogy, and then if there are any F1 fans in the audience, just give me a shout out for bringing F1 into this conversation. So imagine the SI and the tech partnership as a Formula One racing team, right? The tech provider is like the car manufacturer, building the car's engine and framework, advanced, powerful, full of potential, right? But no matter how great the engine is, it needs to be fine-tuned for optimal performance, right? So SI, on the other hand, is like the pit crew and race engineer, constantly analyzing conditions, making adjustments, and ensuring that the car operates at its peak on the racetrack. They know the unique demands of each race and can adapt the car to its specific solutions, whether that's improving the speed on a straightaway or even handling sharp turns, right? So, and in this analogy, the insurance companies like the driver, their goal is to win the race, which means getting the best performance from the car, that's the technology, and relying on the pit crew for real-time adjustments and strategies, right? So net, only if they work together, right, the driver, that's the insurer, can confidently aim for victory, delivering value, speed, and precision in a high-stake environment like the insurance market is today. So the first step that we need to accept is that it is a symbiotic relationship, right? And they do need each other to grow. One more interesting thing that I observed is the evolution of the partnership themselves, right? So if you remember, these partnerships started with SIs, collaborating with these big core tech providers for implementation and maintenance exercises, right? To now that they have started partnering with these low code and no code players, teaching specific solutions for these carriers, solving specific challenges, right? And now as we speak, I see these SIs scouting for new and upcoming core players, and this is not true for just core, right? Even these insurance in a box type of constructs, we see these SIs partnering with these smaller core augmentation players, right? And stitching some exciting solutions for these carriers.
Wow. So that is a fantastic analogy, right? So the F1 car, and you comparing that to the insurance technology ecosystem is the best that I've heard so far, which is, if I look at from an insurance priority perspective, we're talking about velocity and velocity of change where we need to drift every curve. We have hurricanes, we have interest rate, geopolitical issues. With every curve, you need to drift and adapt, and you need this well coordinated solution machinery where you have the infrastructure providers, the hyperscalers, the data providers, the CRM, the core tech, the low code, the data providers, all of them coming together. And then the operators, right? Our business process teams, our analytics teams, who's kind of looking at the back end and seeing how we can fine tune the the car or the engine or the core systems, and then the system integrators and consulting firms were kind of helping drive the strategy and all coming together to build these solutions. So we want to focus on driving the value to insurance carriers and the entire ecosystem, and kind of bring all of this together to create value, right? So this is fantastic. I've heard it for the first time. I'm just loving this, right? Great. So I know we are teasing enough, right? We've been like, oh, where's the leading 50? Who are the leading 50, right? So I think it's time, right? It's time to talk about who are the leading 50. So I thought let's have like a drum roll here. Let's kind of make some noise, make some music out here, and then get to who are the leading 50 technology providers. Let's start with the P&C insurance space. Can we have the drum roll, please? Over to you. What do you take us through?
Perfect. Presenting the most awaited leading, our top 10 of the leading 50 P&C insurance technology providers. So we have had enough chit chat around the need, for the core and core augmentation providers to play in an ecosystem with better together approach to kind of accelerate that innovation and simplify the adoption process. And that gets validated with our lead, top 10 of the leading 50 list that we have out here. Gaiva, Duck Creek, Muchesco being the top 3 P&C insurance core platform providers, serving the carriers with robust technology systems for core functions. We also have providers like Verisk, Moody's, and CoreLogic in the top 10, who focus on offering the solutions or platforms that kind of help these carriers assess and price their risks more accurately, improve their underwriting decisions, claim outcomes. Also, one major point, assist in boosting resiliency against these extreme weather events. We also have providers like Salesforce and Pegasystems who kind of focus on powering that seamless digital customer interactions, from maybe policy servicing, customer communication, to customer data platforms that enable that upselling and cross-selling opportunity. So again, leveraging advanced data analytics and AI-based tools, these providers kind of aim to empower insurers with that personalized experiences that I just talked about, driving deeper customer engagement, most importantly, more tailored offerings. And among the broader set of the leading 50 providers, which you'll get to see in the complimentary abstract, which you can download right now, one common trend, right, that we have seen is their focus on developing those advanced underwriting solutions to enhance risk assessment, and in some cases mitigation too. And the most important theme which we have been talking about, we are going to release a report as well, by underwriting plus AI specifically. So these solutions are also driving a new wave of innovation, right, for the pricing actuaries who now benefit from these, cutting edge data science and predictive analytics, which is powered by more sophisticated rating engines. I think this is one point. Also, the leading 50 for P&C insurers just driving some excitement out there. It features a diverse set of providers from different areas of focus perspective. Some are focusing on advanced augmented underwriting, as we spoke. Some of the others are focusing on or specialized, I say, in claims management, fraud detection and mitigation. And another major trend that we are seeing is the preference for configurability over customization. So insurers, as Arindam as also talked about it, right? Insurers are kind of increasingly turning to low-code technology solutions to ease out the configuration, abbreviate their time to market. And obviously, there are a few such providers in our leading 50 as well. Then we have, also focused on providers who are offering intelligent workflow orchestration, pre-built integrations. So there's a lot more to explore in the full report and even the complimentary abstract that you have right now as well. So do check that out.
Yeah, Vanshika, this is exciting, right? And I was it's kind of looking at the list and also looking at, reflecting on the conversation that Arindam was having around partner ecosystem. I think Guidewire had a big refresh on their partner ecosystem. I know they are at the top of the list, but want to congratulate all the 50 technology providers who are featured on this. It was a lot of effort. I know the long list, I think all of you had, right? I think it was a massive list of technology providers. We spent a lot of time validating this, collecting the data, kind of reviewing this and kind of coming to this. It's a effort of the last 6 months that to kind of put this together. So I'm really excited of, culminating into this. So there is a lot more detail to unpack in the report. We have 50 providers. We can't talk about all right now, but the complimentary abstract that you have, you could download those, and you can have access to those. So that's great, right? So this is the P&C insurance technology providers. I thought let's have the drum roll one more time before we talk about the life and annuities. So can we have the drum roll, please, again? Awesome. Okay, so Chinmay, take it up. Take it up.
Yep. So we have the top 10 L&A names now. Ronak, you mentioned about David versus Goliath paradigm. To stress that a bit, what this list shows is interesting. What this list hides is also vital. And there are multiple Davids in the list that isn't here, and they are going very aggressively from their own vantage points. Of course, on the slide you see the core providers, the Goliaths. Of course, they're trying to improve every year, getting into adjacency, trying to find new acquisition targets if needed. But then they're also trying to find new areas. So if I do individual life, can I start doing the group life? If I do that, can I get into annuities and then retirements? And then the retirement ones have always considered wealth management as one of the potential big things to do. So they continue to be aggressive in their strategic pursuits. But then on the non-core side, you have other providers looking at it from the different lenses. You have a customer engagement lens, group life and benefit lens. There are distribution provider, there are distribution engagement platform creators that are coming up. And then, of course, you have the health data. A lot of that comes under the regulatory lens. So things keep getting complicating there, but you're really smart, really promising companies coming up there as well. And then lastly, you also have the low core heritage providers who are building these solutions across the value chain. They are coming up and saying, hey, we do not have a core tech platform, but we have 20 solutions that cover your entire value chain. So no need to rip something apart to adopt something else completely. Just let us come in. And by the way, we also have a very robust service provider ecosystem in that. And so that is how I'd like to sum up the L&A top 50. Back to you, Ronak.
Yeah, no, again, thank you. This is exciting, right? Because as I look at this list, right, I think the amount of investments each of these companies are doing in building modern capabilities, driving modern engineering efforts, at the same time moving into new areas where they can provide help to the clients. That's a lot, right? So this is really good because this market needs that, right? We know that we are in the business of longevity and mortality risk, but that cannot be the only business we are in. We want to build better holistic financial wellness experience. And as we do that, there is a need to expand how we influence the customers and how we bring the power of technology to do that. So this is again exciting. We have a detailed report out here. So again, call out to everyone that this is, you have access to the reports. You can, use the link and call to action to download the reports. You can get the list of the top 50 leading technology providers out here, and then also look at a lot of different analysis that we have done. And speaking of different analysis, the one that I liked was talking about different recognitions out here. As we look at on the next slide, Arindam, I wanted to, start with again P&C, right? Again, we're giving P&C the preference every time. So we'll start with P&C. Can you talk to me about, what are these recognitions and, what are these different areas that we've highlighted out here?
Sure, Ronak. So probably what I'll do is spend time on a few of those. So all in all, we have identified 38 tech providers that stand out in the most impactful and in-demand segments for P&C insurers, right? So these are the players who have been able to position themselves as the go-to providers for solving these specific challenges for the P&C carriers. For example, looking at this list, at the first instance, you would say that underwriting was an obvious area and theme for us. We have three categories sort of somehow either directly or indirectly related to underwriting, right? So that was because even in today's macroeconomic environment with all these geopolitical disruptions, increased risk complexities, supply chain disruptions, there's still a dual mandate for these carriers to not only grow but grow profitably, right? And underwriting plays a key role in enabling these carriers to deliver on this dual mandate. Therefore, you see these themes. The first one being the underwriting assistance, right, wherein we have recognized providers with advanced underwriting workbench solutions, providing a 360-degree view of the risk of not only single policy but at a portfolio level risk analysis ability, right? The second category that you would see related to underwriting would be the standalone pricing and rating engine. With its advanced, when we have recognized providers with its advanced pricing, rating, and modeling capabilities, which are especially useful for carriers with, let's say, legacy core systems, right? And not only that, I mean, even with carriers having modern core systems, they are very useful in augmenting those existing capabilities of those core tech products. The other segment that you can see is with respect to this risk intelligence, right? So all these ties together beautifully. These risk intelligence providers with its granular insights, augmented the capability of the other two provider segments that you see out here.
No, this is, again, I think very well thought of. And if I look at all of these themes, I was also reflecting, if I look at our inquiry data sets and questions around technology providers, I think it would kind of map to this, right? Because I know we were doing the review of all the inquiries that were coming, and it's so interesting. Most inquiries are on specific point solutions versus an end-to-end system, and everybody wants to go deeper. And the question then isn't about underwriting workbench or an assistant. It's about, okay, underwriting workbench in my context, in terms of my business, right? So even if you're highlighting the leading providers in each of this, it now becomes important for somebody who's using this research to apply this in their context, and they will need more questions and help out here. So feel free to reach out to us if you need to learn more about these categories or even other areas where you're looking at technology provider assessments or selection. But Vanshika, I wanted to ask you to take one of these categories and tell us who are the ones that got recognized, right? Again, I want to ask you to pick one of these categories and tell me, right, which is the one that you would want to talk more about, and what's the result for that category on that one.
Sure, Ronak. See, if you would ask me, I think all would be my favorite, but if I would have to pick one, so I'll pick emerging risk intelligence, right, for cyber and climate risks. I'll tie this to a few data points that are really important for us to know, right? So this escalating volatility and the intensity of these catastrophes and the climate change induced damages kind of pose a multi-phase challenge to both, right, people and economies worldwide. And most importantly, a complex risk for insurers. So as per a report by, I think, Munich Re, these catastrophic flooding, extreme storms, and 2 earthquakes, they kind of produced an overall loss of roughly $120 billion US, right, in H1 2024. Out of this, only 52% of the losses were insured. This resulted in significant protection gap, right, and that lack of comprehensive and appropriate coverage, it kind of amplifies the whole situation, the vulnerability, and undermines the most important aspect, that is resilience in the face of these catastrophes, right? And at the same time, closing those coverage gaps and solving for the emerging complex risk, it becomes extremely important for carriers. So with this, I think the insurers need to develop those deeper understanding of their risk drivers to underwrite at the appropriate terms and conditions and offer right risk coverage for complex risk types. And I think this is how our recognition around risk intelligence for emerging risk types becomes extremely important. We have recognized such players who are leveraging AI and other advanced technologies to help insurers, accurately assess the risk exposure to cyber threats and natural disasters. So we have different players catering to different specific, climate risk or cyber risk, ensuring appropriate coverage in this category. We have Advantage Go, we have CoreLogic, we have Cape Analytics, we have CyberCube, we have Cytora, Moody's, right? And we have Verisk, we have Zesty AI under this category. Some of them are actually tapping on the parametric insurance technology opportunity using IoT and satellite technology. Data points can be gathered with even granularity for maybe even within 10 meters of, let's say, a wildfire situation. There's another important and interesting possibility from the use case front that some of these providers are evaluating. Helping insurers shift from zip code based property insurance pricing to street level property based personalized pricing. How interesting does that sound, right? For instance, underwriting risk for these house fires based on zip codes will be, resulting in flawed results because every house proximity to the nearest fire stations and hydrant would differ. So the challenge and the opportunity here lies in moving from that broad base to hyper personalized segmentation, which can, enhance that precision while maintaining the financial stability. Also, let us know in the comments, audience, in case you believe there are any other providers as well who are driving innovation under this category. We would love to know that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because this is such an important space where we're getting so much question. And I think you highlighted, two things which I want to re-emphasize. Protection gap is huge, right? I want to underscore this, right? Whatever number we have, it's 200 billion, 300 billion, or a trillion. I believe we are underestimating that number. So given that is the place where protection gap is less, and I think that's where all of these companies come and play a very critical, important role, building the right data sets and the intelligence to be able to take action on it. And then the vision towards driving risk prevention is only possible when you are able to have these kind of providers doing such amazing work. And again, I was able to kind of meet some of these, providers at ITC Vegas, kind of understand, what they are doing in terms of the data that they're building, the capabilities in terms of the analytics that they're doing. So this is very important work, and I want to congratulate each one of you for kind of, driving this. So Vanchika, we did P&C, but I do want to talk about L&A because then Chinmay will say we're always giving preference to P&C and not L&A, but we love both. So life and annuity is all in them, right? Let's look at the next slide, and can you talk through us, why we chose these areas, right? This is like very varied, very different from the P&C world. So
Absolutely. And Ronak, due to my biasness with underwriting, I can talk about underwriting all day long, but I'll skip underwriting this time and stress on the hyper personalization piece that you guys already talked about, right? So I remember the time when I myself was involved in writing these research reports on the hyper personalization theme with a forward looking approach, right? And I think we all will agree along with the audience out here that we are past that phase right now, right? So the segment that I will talk about is the customer engagement and digital workflow management segment. In today's digital first world, customers expect seamless interactions and personalized experiences, right? And the ability to engage effectively with these customers across multiple channels is no longer a luxury for sure, but a necessity. So and insurers must meet these expectations while improving operational efficiency. So that becomes more complex, right? And the providers we have recognized under this segment offer solutions that not only streamline these digital workflows, but also elevate the customer touch points, leading to better retention, stronger customer satisfaction, and even subsequently stronger customer loyalty. Okay. The next segment, again, a bit of hyper-personalization theme is sort of ingrained in this segment, as well as the distribution and sales optimization management segment, which again is no less important, is very vital for the L&A insurers to remain competitive. Distribution channels are evolving with agents and brokers and digital channels all playing key roles. Optimizing these channels and managing sales effectively can drive business growth immensely, and they have a huge impact on the same. So the technology providers in this category focus on enhancing this sales process, leveraging advanced analytics, CRM tools, and digital platforms to help insurers reach these customers more effectively and close sales faster.
Yeah, no, this is a very good mix, right? You have administration, and again, I know the complexity that goes in the retirements, pension, record keeping world. So this is a very, I would say, underappreciated complexity that all the carriers have to, and all the plan sponsors, participants, and policy holders, and providers all kind of go through. So I understand the challenges in that ecosystem. So that's one, distribution being the other one, experience and underwriting. I know we did not go into that. That's always there. But 25 leading technology providers in these five high impact areas. Chinmay, which is your favorite one? And do you want to take us through that?
Absolutely. I'd love to talk about employee benefits bit simply because the number of questions it throws out. So when you look at the group life insurance technology bit over the years, right? How group life insurance as a whole evolved. Initially, it was just about getting the insurer's cover for your employee. Then it moved to getting the family involved. Then you started adding some non-life voluntary benefits, and then slowly we had financial wellness. Now we have food and shopping coupons included in the entire thing. It's no more only about getting the insurance cover. It has become a part of employer branding in a way for employers to enhance their value proposition for employees. And now you add to that the fact that life insurance always wanted to have that connect or a relationship with the end customer, and there lies the opportunity. There are smaller new players, largely funded by the PEVC ecosystem. They are coming to an enterprise and saying, hey, you have this insurance policy, you have 50 different voluntary benefits, and then there are 100 other things that you do for your employees. Let me aggregate all of it and provide a platform for your employees to access it, for you to engage with them. And well, as I control this distribution network in a way, let me also find you a better deal in some cases. Now, what it also allows is to create a distribution and engagement platform for the life insurers to connect with their customers. Now, issues related to lack of customer engagement and retention rates have been long-standing pain points. Now, this entire paradigm shift, it opens up a lot of questions, and something like, does it disrupt the current sales ecosystem? As let's say, once I onboard a client, I can come to an insurer and negotiate better deals for millions of policies, right? What happens to the traditional insurance brokers? As I have this engagement platform, what can I cross sell? And so all these questions, right? What happens in the future is for all of us to discover, but it's almost a wonderland for analysts following this all the time.
Great. No, again, this is I know one of our common topics of conversation, right, Chinmay? You and I've been speaking about this quite a lot, and I think given the inquiries that have kind of spiked up in this area, we always want to talk more about it. I also want to give an opportunity, right? Again, I know our listeners with us who've been intently kind of following us along as we unpacked some of the insights from the leading 50 reports. If you have any questions, please put that in the chat. We would want to learn more about what are you wrestling with, what are your clients wrestling with, and what would you want to ask us. I'm sure if we can take a few questions now, but also we'll take more questions offline. You know how to reach all of us out here. And also the complimentary abstract and report is available, so we do want all of you to download out here. And I did see some comments coming in about providers getting featured, Earnix, LTM, and three others who kind of put comments. So thank you all for putting your thoughts out here, and also kind of continuously participating in our research. So that's been really great. So we look for questions from the audience
Great.
as we want to proceed.
Yeah, sure, Ronak. Thanks for allowing the audience to pull in these questions. But before that, while that happens, Chinmay and Anvanchika, let's put Adi on the spot. He has been spending so much time asking these questions. So let me start with the first question. So
That
Ronak,
wasn't part of the plan. You were not going to ask me questions, right? It was the other way
yeah,
around.
that's fine. That's fine. Let's do this. Let's put you on the spot. Uh, Ronak, what
Okay.
was the driver for envisioning and making us work so hard for this leading 50 report?
Okay. So there's a bit of a history to this, right? If you look at most of our research has been around large software packages, right? If you go back 7, 8 years, most of our vendor recommendations have been around large claim systems, policy admin systems, some around specific point solutions in underwriting, distribution, CRM, but it was always around large holistic end-to-end systems. If you look at the inquiries that are coming to us over the last 5.5 years, they started suddenly changing, right? The nature of inquiries were about for this product line or line of business, for this value stream in this region, right? A combination of value stream, the line of business of product, and geography. Folks were asking us questions around what's the right point solution providers we want to work with. We don't want to work with large packet solutions, or even if these are large packet solution providers, we want configurable elements that we can borrow and then either buy and configure and customize, or build that best of the model, because we all don't want to be on the same systems. We want to have differentiation in our technology as much as we want to have differentiation in our products, our experiences, our processes. And as we started doing that, we started putting together this massive exercise, right? So we started collecting data for a large number of providers, right? So again, if you look at the long list, right, it's around 700, 800 odd technology providers we started tracking. And for all of those, we started building a point of view around what are the products, like a line of businesses they serve, what value streams they serve, and which geographies do they play in. Because there's a lot of regulatory environment undercurrent that you need to understand, uniqueness in products, right? Simple thing like pensions, right? If you move from, say, US to Netherlands to UK to go to a superannuation market in Australia, it's very different. You need to have technology which is contextual to the region and the product and the value stream. So we started building that a huge matrix. So now, if you get an inquiry, right, you guys are excellent in responding to a higher volume of inquiry where anybody's saying, okay, this is the three axis of analysis. We can come to a recommendation and a short list of suppliers very quickly. And I think that was the genesis of this. And as soon as we did that, one of the insights was, hey, there is a way to now bring the list together and talk about the leading 50 technology providers and celebrate them. And I think the celebration was very important, is, hey, there is a lot of great work, innovation that is happening. And we would do injustice as analysts if we are not cheerleaders of the great work that's happening in the ecosystem. So this was our attempt to give back and saying, hey, this is a great thing that the industry is doing. Our clients are asking us more questions and wanting to ask us to rank and rate. So we wanted to do that, but at the same time we didn't want this to be just any other list, right? That's where the report is so different, right? It talks about value stream level activities. It talks about data and AI use cases and generative AI use cases in production. This talks about the hyperscaler and industry cloud playbook. This talks about things in terms of system integration landscape and how that is going around, right? So absolutely, as we look at all of that, it's amazing, right? Kind of to see all of that, going around. So that's the vision. That is what drove us. And as I was speaking, I see some beautiful comments coming in. Again, Paresh, thank you for going through the report and giving your feedback. This is a lot of hard work from the team, and again, all of your feedback is really valuable. So thank you for doing that. I hope, Arundam, I answered your question.
You did, Ronak. Thank you.
Okay, so now we move back to audience questions. Okay.
No. There are more questions coming your way, Ronak.
Okay.
You answered about top 50. You recently came from ITC Vegas. Everyone in the team is worried about a new idea that you're going to wake up with tomorrow morning, and make us all going to work on next 5-6 months. Why don't you point out a few things, a few key learnings and observations from your visit to ITC Vegas?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I would say there are a few things which I personally took away from the event, and it was an amazing event to see the whole ecosystem coming together. One of the first ones would be the amount of investments that's happening in data and data-led products, right? So that for me was interesting, right? Talking to companies which were talking about the scale of data they have, the quality of data they have, and the way they are able to use it to drive impact. Now, this could be around loss prevention or risk prevention, to helping in underwriting, to helping in pricing, or just helping drive better decisioning from a financial perspective, litigation perspective, fraud perspective. The number of companies who are talking about risk ops within insurance has increased dramatically. So I was like actually surprised with the amount of innovation that is happening in ability to bring observability in each insurance process. And this observability is coming because of very robust data sets and the workflows that are built on top of it, and obviously the power of analytics, right? I'm not even going to the buzzword of AI. Right? Yes, it is there, but I think that for me was great. The second big takeaway was the amount of innovation that is happening in the each value stream. And let's just talk about, say things like claims, right? It's not just about, 5 years back, it was all about, okay, let's redefine first notice of loss as an experience, and then everything else people will figure out later. Right now, it's about the rest of the pieces, right? And how do you kind of drive that? How do you bring data and analytics within that ecosystem? How do you drive better experiences? How do you do this for different types of products, different types of customers, different channels? For me, that was important. And within that, I think one thing that gets, I think, I think does not get a lot of attention is the complexity around payments. And that for me was a great thing at ITC Vegas is the number of payment technology providers who are driving innovation, where they've built solutions which are specific to the insurance industry is great. And obviously there's been large, big announcements over the last 2 years in terms of acquisitions and others as well from payment technology companies. So we have seen that, we've observed that. But when you see it on the ground and when you see it real, and you also look at all the client inquiries we've had around payments, right? If you kind of bring it all together, it's like it makes sense, right? It's a complex issue and it's something which you can drive profitability around, right? So that for me was another big takeaway. So I would say those are some highlights definitely I wanted to share with all of you. But again, there's just so much to unpack. And in terms of your question about what all we will do, again we will see, right? In the planning exercises, there's a lot of great research we want to do, right? There's a lot of topics we want to cover, but we also want to make sure it creates value for our members, right? We have 17 of the top 30 carriers who we need to go back to and ask as research members saying, what do you care about? What do you want us to hear? So a lot of that gets influenced in our research, but also our supplier ecosystem, right? They provide us great feedback and they also kind of bring it to us. So definitely a combination of that is going to drive what we do out here. So now again, Chinmay, I hope this helps. And again, great question here.
That does. And of course, yes, I'd agree. Payment has been one of the areas that has not deserved the attention it does. And there's a lot of work for us to do. Vanshika, you have
amazing,
one chance.
amazing insights, Ronak, Arindam, Chinmay. Let's get ready. Lots of work on our way, considering all these, great insights from Ronak. And also, Ronak, why should I stay behind? Another question from me. So, what's from your vantage point? What do you think? What's next for Everest Group's coverage of insurance technology landscape? Any 2 or 3 pointers that you would like to highlight here?
Sure. So one thing we want to do is we've heard our clients. Everybody is moving towards a new operating model, and they want to work with the ecosystem that helps them with their new operating model. The new operating model, I realize, is very different for different carriers and different firms out there. But largely, the crux of this is we want to align our entire technology and operations ecosystem to align to common OKRs, right? So we don't want each of these to be siloed, sense where everybody is measuring themselves on their own KPIs, metrics, and SLAs, and not aligned to the common goals and visions of the organization. So this alignment to common objectives and key results and driving this tech and ops alignment is going to be very critical. This is also important from the massive cost takeout mandate which a lot of carriers have, right? And that is where this ecosystem of how do you bring the right technology in the value streams and then operate it, and how do you then align all of those to measure it towards driving the right OKRs is going to be the big things. And that is where I think advice to all our service providers, technology providers, right? Again, who read our research, I think one of the advice that we have to them is, hey, you cannot do everything alone. You need to work with the right ecosystem. If you don't have that, you're not going to be not going to be creating the value that clients deserve, right? It is holistic specialization, holistic solution development to the areas where insurance carriers need help. So I think that's going to be number one theme for us is how do you build that new operating model, and how does that technology stack, the data stack, the operation stack, all of that comes together to solve it, right? So that's going to be our number one area of focus we want to do. The second is insurance industry is going through a lot of challenges, but at the same time, it's getting ready for the future. And as we do that, we want to drive resiliency. We want to grow. We want to grow really fast. We want to be very agile and want to drive higher velocity of change, as we spoke about. But as we do that, we want to be resilient businesses, because these businesses are going to outlive all of us, right? So that's where insurance is one of those kind of businesses. They are definitely going to outlive all of us. So that's why you need to build for that foreseeable future. So a lot of work around future of different products, right? Again, we're going to do the big one on specialty insurance that Aurintham is leading, but okay, there'll be a lot more coming across the board. Great work happening in the retirements and pension space as well. I want to call that out because that's another underserved space from an analyst insights perspective. So those are going to be like two big things that are going to drive. But beyond that, some exciting work around claims, future of data and AI in claims, group life and benefits policy administration, which you want to go deep into, low code, cloud, AI, are going to kind of be top of our mind. And also, I think one thing that we don't talk a lot about is third-party administrations. I have so many carriers asking us this question: should I be go to a full suite TPA, or should I be buying a policy admin and get operations from somewhere else? I think we want to answer that question, right? What works really well for you? And then as you design this operating model, technology and data stack, the question that everybody has is, where do we do this work from? Should we do it internally? Should we do it internally within our captive? Should we do it offshore? Should we outsource it? What kind of supplier should we outsource it? How should we create the sourcing portfolios? So there's a lot of question around that. And I know there's a lot more to unpack, but I would say if I have to reflect back, I think those are going to be core themes we want to definitely double click on as we go along. So I hope I've answered all of your questions. And this is, again, you putting me on the spot, you realize, right? I'm going to give back, right, when we do this next time. But this is interesting, right? Again, thank you for asking the questions. I just want to thank all of you, and the entire team behind this research. This is powerful. This is going to be great for our clients, great for the industry in terms of the leading 50. If you haven't yet requested to get a CTA to download the report, please do that. The report is available. You can download the complimentary abstract by clicking on the link in the comments. And we love to get more of your questions, so feel free to reach out to us, and we would want to chat more about this exciting space. But thank you everyone for listening in. This was a wonderful conversation, and I enjoyed every bit of it. Thank you, Arindam, Vanshika, Chinmay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.